You can do something fast and crappy, for lack of a better term, or you can do it slow and gold-plated. And as an executive, a tech executive, you have to decide somewhere in that spectrum how you're going to, bring the product out. The problem with doing fast and crappy is that fast and crappy is going to come and bite you in the backside at some point in time. The question is when.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started.
20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today, I'm with Gordon Allott, the president and CEO of BroadPeak Partners, the developer of the K3. K3 is a software that takes data from anywhere, allows users to transform, filter, and unify through an intuitive UI and send it to anywhere. Before founding BroadPeak, Gordon was a consultant and attorney in the financial sector. This included advising a wide variety of bulge bracket banks and hedge funds on derivative trading, and he led the energy trading and risk group for Sapient, delivering trading projects for Duke, Constellation, JPMorgan, Chevron, and others. Prior to Sapient, he was part of a startup leading the USA and VP of Business Development and VP then Asia Pac, now Alstom. Gordon practiced as a derivatives attorney, has a JD from the University of Denver, and a Bachelor's of Arts from Drake University. This is going to be a great and fruitful conversation. I'm really curious to hear about your own journey as well as that of K3 and sort of the human-computer interaction, especially with non-technical people when it comes to data, decision-making, and organizations. So a lot for us to unpack in these 20 minutes, as usual.
Yeah.
And we'll get started right away. Tell me a little bit about your own connecting the dots, looking backwards. If you had to sort of look at your career, go ahead.
I mean, so it's what I would say is a very non-traditional technology path, right? I was a derivatives attorney in a big bank, and we had always the three founders of the company, we had always worked in large financial institutions, and we got together and sort of highlighted a major problem in the organization around integration, which is it's like every time you want to try and move data from one point to another, you have to go get a developer to do it. And it creates this massive bottleneck in the organization. It's like the normal way, like it's just, you're an executive and you're like, look, I need system A to talk to system B, or I need system A, B, and C to go over to this database. The first thing you do is you grab a developer by the collar and you're like, okay, go code it up. And that works, actually. It works really well. The problem is that the business starts changing. And when the business changes, they go back to that developer and they're like, hey, can you come and like redo this code that you did before? And they're like, yeah, I'd love to in a month when I'm done with my current project, right? So that's kind of how it all started. And, so K3, we kind of decided to build it differently. That was the evolution of low code integration, or that was the beginning of it. And we started it differently. We bootstrapped it from the beginning. For the first year, none of us took any salaries, for the first year, and just, got the product built, started taking it out to the market, and we got into TechCrunch and some of those kind of things. But we have continued to bootstrap it. So we've now bootstrapped K3 well through the formative phases into you start going past 5, 6, 7 million in revenue. You just so once you bootstrap through the sort of the beginning phases, you're just operating a normal software company. So we've continued to be able to do that without any venture backing, which is a little bit different journey.
A little bit of a different journey, I'm sure. And
the decision, 15 years ago, 16 years ago to bootstrap this, quite a, heavy space. I don't know how many were working on ETL 15 years ago. I know that I've been dealing with it myself as an engineer.
Of course.
Over the last 5 years or so. What happened that led to your entrepreneurial decision to bootstrap this and maintain this bootstrapping environment throughout the journey?
I think it was, in terms of whether to bootstrap or not bootstrap, I don't think there's anybody who's anguished over that more than I have, because even today, we consider it. And the thing you have to know about bootstrapping is you are deliberately giving up growth. You're deliberately giving up growth in order to achieve, basically control and destiny. The number one thing that has kind of kept us in bootstrap mode is kind of our decision making about product. So it's very easy to get out over your skis, as they say, in terms of you can sell a product that's not complete, for lack of a better term. Sell a product that it is not really ready for prime time, and then you kind of backfill it. That's a very typical thing to do. And with us, I mean, I think that we are very deliberate about our functionality and how we approach things. We're constantly conscious of what we call technical debt. So, the thing is, you can do something fast and crappy, for lack of a better term, or you can do it slow and gold-plated. And as an executive, the tech executive, you have to decide somewhere in that spectrum how you're going to, bring the product out. The problem with doing fast and crappy is that fast and crappy is going to come and bite you in the backside at some point in time. The question is when. So we're constantly, thinking about all of that stuff from a product perspective. But the other part, I think, the three founders is we just didn't want the noise. We were, some investors are very awesome and sort of give good sage advice, and others are very loud and pushy and really want to, drive you into, higher and higher echelons of revenue. So, which is fine. But, it is, just in terms of ourselves. Yeah, that's been our approach to it.
And so as you have seen the market from back 15 years ago to today, how has the market shifted? How has the landscape changed in your perspective and your understanding of the needs of these customers?
Well, the needs are interesting. I mean, we're squarely a B2B, enterprise sale. So the integration software, it's for companies who have big data needs, move data in real time, all of those kinds of things. And the drive for that segment of business, is efficiency. So, this started years ago and it keeps going, which is everyone has to do more with less. I mean, the truth is like you had the 2008 recession, and there was a lot of jobs lost, and they really didn't come back into the organization, right? I mean, that recession drove efficiencies that quite honestly just stayed. And then we kind of went into the pandemic, and that drove another wave of efficiencies where, look, people are they're being asked to do a lot more in their jobs. And if you look at it, like, just everyone is stretched so unbelievably thin. And that creates real opportunity for technology companies, because it's like, look, if you can help somebody in their day-to-day job do things better, more efficiently, so they can go home and, I don't know, take their kids to soccer and stuff like that. It is an amazingly powerful, sale, actually, where you're really just helping people on a day-to-day basis. And that is probably increased. I kind of just see that increasing more and more. I mean, if we go into a recession now, I mean, there's a lot of people talking about we're going to go into a recession globally and that type of thing. And this is the catalyst for those driving those kinds of efficiencies. It's sort of like, okay, all of a sudden there's a lot of people who are on the job market and they know about real material problems that they can solve with a technological solution. And maybe they just couldn't get any airtime for it when they were at their company. And so they start a company, and the next thing you know, we've got something, pretty awesome. So, that's probably been the biggest shift, I think, in the last, 10 years or so.
So walk me through, if you will, the sort of the product or the journey that you go through with an organization that you work with.
Yeah. So it's very interesting because our biggest competitor, so as a low code integration ETL solution, our number one competitor is the internal developer. Like they're like, no, I want to build it. And they're like, okay, I get it. You want to build it. That's okay. And so the thing is that we're really not trying to compete with that internal developer. We're trying to shift workload, which is basically, listen, we're going to, let's say you've got 3 APIs and you've got 3 legacy systems, and I want to get data out of those 6 systems and I want to get it to a database, right? And pick one, Snowflake, Microsoft SQL Server, it doesn't really matter what it is. So in order to move that stuff through, you're going to have to A, move it, B, stream it, C, transform it, load it, and also have basically some statefulness around it. So like, did the data load correctly? Did it not load correctly? Some of those, so features in there. So the way that we've solved that with K3 is by abstracting most of that into a user interface so that a business analyst can tackle 95% of the workflows. And so, in terms of data transformation, like we have a rules engine, a data rules engine. It's just when, then, else statements that the business analyst can deploy to, okay, it's this special case and I need to deploy it to this data.
Right.
So it doesn't really get rid of the developer. It never does. Trust me. It's really just, so it's, it's the old adage. It's kind of like, a very simple ETL function is like mapping, right? So I'm going to map a data from one system to another. Did you get a comp-sci master's degree to map data? It's kind of, can you do it? Yes, you can do it. You can do it in Python. You can do it very quickly. But if you do it in Python and it's your Python and you do it, you own that forever, right? You are never going to be able to let go of that. And the whole idea is like, we have to stop this stuff. And this low level stuff, developers, don't waste your time on it. It really kind of, when developers start, talking about their ETL prowess on Python, it's kind of like, okay, that's probably very true, but you're shooting yourself in the foot, brother. It's kind of like, because in a big company, you're never going to be able to, that code is always going to have your name on it and you're never going to be able to let go. So this is where we come in and it's like, look, we're going to put this into a recreatable environment where business analysts can get in and do 95% of all of those functions, and that's it. And, it's just a kind of a better way to go. But that's the type of efficiency that we're trying to push in the organization.
So if you had to think to sort of envision what is the vision of K3, long term? How do you define the vision of the company?
Yeah. So for us, it is all about, it is driving data solutions, right? So companies have data problems and we are here to solve those problems. Sometimes they're very hard problems and sometimes they're not hard at all. But at the end of the day, here's what you normally see is, it's sort of like, hey, you're a CEO of a company. Could you see today your daily P&L? Like, can you see your, like a P&L explained where I can see how much money we made today? I can see how much we spent today. and you can see the bottom line today and see all of those levers that are happening. Now that's a brilliant data idea. And the whole idea is, can we get the data to populate that real-time P&L, for example, or some other business metric? And the trick is that in large enterprise, you run into a lot of politics, you run into a lot of stuff. And the whole idea is like, let's democratize that data and come up with real and meaningful data solutions so that we can achieve these goals. And that is our absolute mission as a company, is solving data problems. That's what we are all about.
Awesome. I love that. And tell me a little bit about your own journey. So both, even take me back 15 years to the inception of K3 from personal standpoint. What happened there for you?
We were, so it's kind of, so I started out as a lawyer, and it wasn't very long before I realized that I really wasn't into practicing law. And I got, really pulled into the technology side. So started doing business development for a software company back in Silicon Valley. And that really, hoovered me into the technology world. And I've kind of been hooked on it ever since. So, it's one of those things where I absolutely love technology. I am a total technophile in terms of, and I got to tell you, this is the golden age of technology. You cannot keep up with all of the amazing, just keeping up with, what's rolling out on Apache and stuff like that is a full-time job, let alone some of this other stuff. I mean, there's new technologies that are rolling out all the time that, again, can make really profound changes. So I have always loved that stuff and am, really amazed by some of that stuff about how we can, how could we pull this together into a product. And so we were all doing, I actually got pulled in and was doing after Lehman Brothers, I was brought in to help wind down that portfolio in bankruptcy. Wow. Actually, as a consultant. And we sort of, the three of us, three founders, we just got together and we're like, let's start a software company. Let's just do this. And so we just jumped in. We got a tiny little office, and it had, at the time, we weren't even using AWS. We had a big server that was so loud you couldn't hear anybody. You couldn't hardly hear anything in the office. We started building K3 and just started hacking away at it until we came up with a viable product. And of course, I was in charge of doing all of the sales and business development and marketing back in those days. And so, it's been a incredibly fun journey. And the trick is I do say this to new entrepreneurs, which is, the thing is the first year, I don't care what kind of company you are. I don't care whether you've gotten funding or not funding. The first year is a quarter-mile crawl through broken glass, right? I mean, the first year is the hardest slog, and you just have to keep crawling. It sucks. Nobody's, you're making calls. Nobody's calling you back. Don't worry about it. Keep crawling. And, because what happens is you get through that first year, your brand starts getting some, people start, recognizing you. They're like, oh, okay, I know that guy. That guy, he's a good guy. These are good guys. I understand what they're doing. I know what they're trying to do. You just have to make it through that first year. It's tough.
Yeah, I love that. Did you anticipate the journey as it was? Or what was the most surprising part of the entrepreneurial journey that you've experienced?
The surprising part was for me is like, you're doing that crawl and then it turns. And when it turns, so you kind of have the product market fit together. The product is doing what you need it to do. The sales message has kind of made you've got it polished up correctly where your target, the message is resonating with the customer. And you know that happens when when you're in a meeting with them and they can start visualizing what they can do with it. That's the turn. And when the turn happens, it's absolute magic. It's really fantastic. And I got to tell you, it just takes a while to get there. It doesn't happen overnight. And you really do kind of have to get in and, wrestle with the ideas around, what your product is and what it needs to do and all of those kind of things. That's the surprising thing. And it's amazing when it happens.
I can see in the sentence and in your eyes that you're reflecting back to those moments when it actually happened. And it sounds like it was a very, very meaningful validation and transition from the crawl to walking and running.
I remember listening to Steve Jobs, and he was talking about when the iPhone first came out, and they were sort of like, it might be a thing, it might not be a thing, and then he went out and he started seeing people with the white, the original white headphones, and he's like, it's happening. It's kind of like that, right? It's like, it's happening. Yeah.
Awesome. Gordon, I really want to thank you for the time. Awesome story, awesome journey. We're looking forward to continue sharing from the side. Best of luck with K3 and the remaining journey and many more journeys to come. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.